Hi, I'm Anne from Lolli and Grace, and this is a tutorial about how to stretch your fabric in your embroidery hoop. The supplies you'll need are an embroidery hoop, scissors, and your fabric, obviously. Now, the first thing you might notice is that this hoop looks a little bit different. That's because I have wrapped the inner hoop with twill tape. The reason I've done this is so that when my fabric is stretched, it will stay very tight after I've gotten it where I want it and I put the hoop on. This will keep the fabric from coming unstretched and sagging a little bit because I like my fabric really, really tight, and it makes it much easier to stitch if your fabric is tight. And to do that, I just used what's called twill tape. You can use different widths, but you simply lay it on your hoop like that, wrap it so that it's flat and the edges meet. You can hot glue it or sew it. I believe on this one I sewed it. But either way, it will make your stitching much easier and much better. So let's get started. So I take my fabric, I lay it on the inner hoop like this. I make sure that I have left enough room on all four sides of the inner hoop to, once I stretch the fabric, put the top hoop on, I'll be able to trim it. In other words, I don't want to put the fabric on so there's, just that much fabric. I give myself about, that's probably at least 2 inches on every side, probably more like 3 inches on every side. So my inner hoop, my fabric. Now I'm going to stretch the top hoop on, screw it down so it's pretty tight. And now, before I do, I'm not ready yet because this fabric is very loose. I like it tight. So I'm going to start stretching, but I'm not going to start stretching in just one direction at a time. I like to stretch equally from side to side, all the way down. So I go this direction, and sometimes I retighten the screw and I adjust the outer hoop a little bit. Now I'm going to turn this and stretch from the other direction, right in the center, along the sides. Whoops! Popped out, didn't it? Let's start over. That means I did not have it screwed down tightly enough. That's all right. We will just start again. Okay, it's loose again. So now I am going to be tightening it again. Evenly on both sides. Flip it this way. Make sure this is really, really, really tight. Now I'm going to stretch it this way. Keep tightening, keep stretching so that that fabric is what I like to call drum tight, so that as I'm stitching, it's not going to go anywhere. So once that's done, make sure that screw is really tight, as tight as I want it to be, in both directions. Oh, got a little bit of a wrinkle there, so I'm going to keep tightening it. Tighten this direction one more time. All right, now I'm ready to trim it. I like to trim it evenly in a circle all the way around the hoop. I also like to use pinking shears because this will cut down on the raveling. You can see your fabric has got frayed edges, and I don't want those to get caught up in my stitching as I'm working on it. So I trim it all the way around the edge with the pinking shears. The other advantage to trimming it now is that later on, when I am ready to finish the back of the hoop, it is already trimmed and ready to go. Keep trimming. You don't have to leave this much fabric as you're trimming, just depends. So, there we go. If it's loosened up a little bit, I can still go back and tighten it because I've given myself enough fabric on the edges. But there is my hoop ready to be stitched.